Okay, it's the 15th of July. So I'll go through Ethereum. So yes, so please read some information. I don't need to buy or sell any of these assets. I'm just going to go through some timings and I'll just go through the key information for you guys. So yes, I've been through the VIX many times. I think we're kind of clear on like there's a period of risk in the theory that should be pending based on the VIX analysis, and then I compare that to other charts like the Nasdaq and Magnificent Seven and ETH and Bitcoin and Co. So it's very likely that was the low put in. I think we're going to be in this period where we now, so it's 15th of July. The next low is the 12th of August, and you can see they've been pretty precise. Caught it here, caught it here. This one came like a bit late, hard to read it. That one's on time, on time, on time. So it's this one out here in the second week of August that seems to be like when risk would be very, very high in my opinion. So there is now a window of what is that? That's 27 days until that hits. You can see the last time it got to the latent phase. I've been through this many times. Like you get the big spikes and so on. So I think it's likely based on prior data and like where we are in terms of like the VIX cycle that it's going to spike sometime into late August or even into September. And that's what the VIX is suggesting. And then you think about the Mag 7, it's got a low due out here in mid-September. So we're going to move higher and chop around up here and then get the move down. You can see it's just go through this. You can see it's got had the rally, mid-cycle pullback, the rally, the pullback, the rally, the pullback, the move down. So it's out here, isn't it? So that second week, let me just mark on where that is. It would be, let's say the 12th. Is it there? Just make that line bold. Make it red. Ideal. It's no, just put a question mark there because we're not sure. So that syncs with the phasing in the Mag 7. That will get, you think, very late in phase here would be when we're having risk enter this market. This is already kind of like retraced the 0.66 late in phase, so maybe it's going to just chop around in here and then have to get out into the next um, final stage of the last phase. It's very likely going to move down because it has done so every single time, and that syncs with the Nasdaq as well. Just mark on the 12th of August was here where I've put risk pending. So in an ideal world, this is going to chop and move into these highs. And if we get out here, that's when I'd be interested in the short. So this can grind higher. Late in phase, I think it's very likely going to move down. So that's kind of like those three correlated charts. We can use them to help in terms of cryptocurrency because the Nasdaq is essentially very, very closely tied to crypto. There's only been one time here, like it had the sell off here in early July, and that's when crypto bottomed. Just been in this chop. So any move into range high in the Nasdaq into early to mid August is very likely going to be very, very risky in my opinion. And then I'll just go through ETH now, and you can see I'll just go through the money flow phasing, so you can see that it's captured these lows quite nicely throughout. So that was the low here and again carry trade. He had the low at the end of 2024, caught the low here, and that was the one that was causing some confusion. That is the weekly low. You can see how negative the shape was here as it topped out early and again an early failure. Yeah, that weekly low was due like mid to end of June, and then the next one comes out here, and that's towards the end of September. So that kind of syncs with the VIX and equities, where the period of risk would be in mid-August and then the move down. So the low slightly later than the low in the Nasdaq. I think the low in the Nasdaq I had it as. Let me just double check that. It's out here, isn't it? So that's the end of August. And then the next phasing is the end of September. So the ETH low is due out here. I've got that correct. So that's in terms of when the next ideal like high time frame low is due, and you can see that it syncs perfectly with the daily. The last time they synced perfectly and it hit on time was, let's have a look, was here in August, yeah. So it's very likely you're going to get the next low in like a significant low in Ethereum towards the end of September when they both sync. So that does mean that we're in this period where the low is now in place in ETH, and we should be moving higher. And you think about the VIX said the ideal VIX low would be the 12th of August, and that's right in like that's just past the midpoint of the ideal phasing. So if we get out here into this phase here, that's going to suggest there's be a period of risk is pending in those markets. And that kind of syncs if it's going to be a perfect cycle, you think. Yeah. And then the move down. So that syncs with those correlated charts. So in terms of Ethereum, let's have a look here. You can see with the levels I've marked off. So it's this level here at 1,887. You just go through the entire range and you can see the importance of it was the SR here, here, here. And then the next level above it of significance is this 2,100 level. Let me just mark it off. You can see it was the range high here. It flipped it here, held it here, held it here, rejected here, held it here, was the range high here, and that's that there. So that level there, I'm going to put, let me put range high there. So that's the big level above Ethereum currently. And you can see it's ranged here and then broken down. There are more sellers than buyers up here, even though it's not an amazingly aggressive move down. It just rolled over, but you can see the range here and the move down. So that's the big level there, and the golden zone comes in just below it. So should we say between 2,000 and 2,100-ish is the next very big level of resistance, and you can just see here it's just now running into this and this. Very, very choppy. It's got another low due out here at the end of July. I think it's likely it can pop up here into mid-August. And then as explained, as we get out into um, later into August and into September, in theory, this market should be moving down. On the high time frame, you can just see it's looking at the same kind of whippy, choppy thing it did before, and then had the rollover. Um, I do feel that Ethereum is eventually going to come outside and move to at least 1,380. I think it will eventually move lower. Based on how things are currently, you'd have to really start to change these cycle patterns to get me a bit more interested. Like, for example, if it came down here and made the higher low in here, then that would start to change things. So I guess this period out here into the end of, or sorry, into the autumn of 2026 is going to give us some very good data in terms of what can happen out here. Think about what I showed you in the MSTR and the stock market. There is a period uh, in Q4 where I think equities could maybe move back to highs. And then obviously the MSTR and equities point to a lower some importance in 2027. So it could be a very volatile, bumpy ride for these crypto assets. Just do a quick summary so we're really clear. So there is a low due in the VIX you just call it the middle of August? That syncs with a period of risk in the Mag 7 and the Nasdaq. And also, if you looked at the Bitcoin video, the HYG chart supports that analysis. The Ethereum cycle phasing also supports that as well because that is just past the midpoint of the cycle. We get later in phase, the risk is going to be picking up. I think the risk will be very high from, should we say, late August into September for Ethereum, the big level above 2000 to 2100. We start to see weakness in late August, September. It's very likely going to move down. The data we get out here is going to be very, very important. I mean, look how long it took to move higher here, and it's this like choppy overlapping price action. And did it here? They didn't, and we had the massive expansion. Um, you know, of course, that is possible because there is a window of time here, but not calling for a huge move. I think it's possible Ethereum can get up into this SR here. What is that? We just call it 2,100 as an upside target, and you can see the big level below 1,700. And you can just see the SR here. That's where it was, and these wicks here. And that's the range we're in currently. So it's this bit here, yeah. So I think it's best to go range by range. So weekly low likely in place. Risk is going to pick up towards the mid to end of August. Big level above 2,100. Shouldn't be losing 1,700. That would be quite negative. Next low due towards the end of July. So that's pretty much it.